All in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. Motion passes. Thank you. We're going to move right into presentations, awards, and announcements. We have a presentation from the Phoenix Police Department. I see you guys are present. If you guys would come forward, we are ready for you. Good evening.
Commander, I'm sorry. We are streaming the meeting, so if you can make sure you use that microphone. I know it's a little unnatural.
Okay, there we go.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good. Good evening. I'm Christy Calderon. I'm the commander at Black Mountain Precinct. I've been there since June. With me today is Lieutenant TJ Denny. He just recently came to the precinct a couple weeks ago as our new resource lieutenant, and he oversees our neighborhood enforcement team and our community action officers. Also, Kelsey is our new CAO up for this. She's up in this area. She's responsible. And then Jeff is also a community action officer. He used to have this area, but now he is down in our 22 area. So we have 4 community action officers, one for each area, and then one else helps with abatement, other liquor enforcement stuff, and then helps with fill in the spaces for the other CAOs when they're gone. So just a couple things. I know that this also says this, Black Mountain Precinct, I know there's a map too, just encompasses 182 square miles, which is very large, obviously. So we're basically Thunderbird Road all the way up to Anthem, from the Scottsdale border, Scottsdale Road to I-17 is pretty much where it encompasses. And then we have Anthem area that we also have. So obviously, we all know that this is a growing precinct, probably the most populous precinct that is growing the fastest of all the precincts within City of Phoenix, especially with TSMC. So we do see that. We will continue to recognize that. The City of Phoenix Council realizes that. We continue to watch the population, watch the growth of houses being developed, multifamily houses. I hadn't been to this precinct. I was a lieutenant here back in 2020. Obviously, I live in a different part of the area, so I hadn't been up here for a while. So to see the growth from 2020 to present, I was in awe to see how much is growing. The good thing is our calls for service hasn't gone up that much, even with the growth that we have. We do know that, sometimes that does happen, but for right now, we're pretty lucky. So some of our calls for service totaling about 4,900 calls that we're at as of July of 2025. That's what we've had for the whole precinct. So that's pretty good. And our priority response times for the precinct, obviously we go by different priority. Priority 1 is emergency, like a crime in progress. Priority 2 is, for example, like a domestic violence, but there's no actual violence happening at that time, but the person is still present at that location. And then priority 3 is, for example, like a vehicle that was burglarized, but there's no suspect around or anything like that. So those do tend to take a little bit longer. So our calls for service response times is about 8 minutes for priority 1s, 19 minutes for priority 2s, and then sorry, I don't have my glasses, 36 minutes for priority 3s. Just a couple things with the City of Phoenix that is new. On August 13th, we went live with our AI-powered call triage system. So that is our non-emergency number Crime Stop that we use AI. So basically when you call the non-emergency number, it goes through prompts for you to verify that this is not a crime in progress or anything like that that needs that attention, that needs to go to a dispatcher right away. And then it triages it so that it gives our 911 dispatchers more time to spend on emergency traffic. So that has definitely helped with our dispatching. And then September 9th, just a couple weeks, so we're still trying to get through this. We changed and transitioned to a new records management system. So we're still dealing with the pains of a new system, learning it, learning how to do new booking systems, how to impound stuff. So officers are taking a little bit longer to do bookings and process through that, but it's just a matter of time that they get used to that. We're working on transitioning all of our old records from our old system to our new system. So right now we're unable to keep track of our statistics right now. That should still, they think a couple weeks is when they'll start implementing and getting that new stuff in so that we'll be able to use for our crime stats meetings that we have twice a week. All of us commanders and our resource lieutenants get on a WebEx call and we just discuss with our investigations units to keep making sure that, you know, we're up to speed of following up and making sure that these crimes that we have outstanding suspects, what we're working on to find the suspects. If there's a need for our neighborhood enforcement teams to go out and assist in locating suspects or help with the investigations, detectives itself. I know that the big question for the community and big concern, which is my big concern as a resident, is e-bikes. I know that bothers me as a parent, as a community member. I understand that that's a big thing for people, seeing these young kids riding these bikes and just having to pay attention more to these kids out there and adults that are riding these. I can't say they're just all kids. So yes, we understand that that's a big thing. City Council helped us with changing some laws and enforcing things for us that we have a little bit more teeth. I know that flyer's gone out, that we have the different laws. Our officers are very well understanding of them, and when we do get a chance, when they're not answering radio calls, we do try to enforce those things when it's seen. I know that comes in Crime Stop and advising us of those e-bikes as well, and that's something that continuing as a community member is calling the non-emergency, because technically yes, it's a non-emergency, but those are things that we do need to know, because those do need to get addressed. I understand that, but for right now, that's all I have. If anybody has any questions.
Questions from the board?
Staffing right now,
Are you guys staffed or are you understaffed?
we're not fully staffed. No, we have 105 for our precinct. We're allotted 116. So we do use overtime in a wisely fashion to make sure that have enough as far as when people take off time, we at least have that staffing for the 106 that were there available. I'm changing a little bit of stuff to really focus on our busy times of the week, days of the weeks that we see more calls for service, and during those peak times, which is usually noon to about 6-7 o'clock, when we really see, depending on the year too, that does help when kids are in school or when kids are out of school, of when we see those peak times for calls for service. And we will use our overtime to staff those for more officers, so they're able to respond to calls, so we can lower our call times for those times of service. Anything else?
Thank you so much. All right, we're going to move on to item 6, staff reports and financials.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. I'll kick it off. I know that we're going to be doing a little different format tonight, so those who are following along, I know that we're going to be taking questions after each person reports. So if there are questions specifically directed at one person, they'll be able to answer those right away. So let me start with Anthem Neighborhood Watch. They are in a leadership transition period right now, and they are looking for a leader. So if you know anyone who would like to be involved with Anthem Neighborhood Watch, who would like to be I guess it's the chair or vice chair of Neighborhood Watch, they are looking for someone. So if there's interest or you know someone, please get in contact with me. My email's on the website. Come up to me after. Happy to help however we can connect you with Neighborhood Watch. Um, Neighborhood Watch plays an important role in our community, although it's not an official Anthem Community Council committee or organization. We certainly support the efforts that they do, and we would hate to see that not be in our community there. So making a call for help there for them. Next, we have a new finance director. Her name is Dee Nortman. She is starting October 13th. She's currently the finance director for DC Ranch, has 7 years experience with them there. We're fortunate and excited to have her on board there. There's a picture of her there. She has some budget meetings herself this week there, but like I said, she'll be starting next month with us. 2026 budget process. We started this month off on September 10th with a workshop. We'll go over the budget again tonight based on the feedback we received at that workshop. So tonight's discussion only on that, and then we will then make those adjustments if there are any that you would like us to make, and then final consideration for approval would be at the next month's board meeting, so the October board meeting, and then following the October board meeting, immediately following, there will be an Anthem Way Foundation meeting for the Anthem Way Foundation board to approve the Anthem Way Foundation budget as well. So that's kind of where we are on that budget process right now. I'm still working on that, taking that input from the board of what you'd like to see adjusted there. I had someone ask me the other day, and he said, that's a great question. What's happening with the library? And I said, I don't know. So I called the executive director for the library district, Mr. Reeder, and he told me that they are winding up the design phase, but they are still in the design phase. He said, I wish it were going faster, but it's not. But the library is not stalled. It's not going forward. It is going forward. He's really excited about some of the conceptual drawings he's seeing already. He said, as soon as we have what we can release, we will let you know, and we'll get the word out to the community there so that residents are aware of the building's design and progress there. So excited for that. And there are some watching at home right now because our last couple of meetings, we've streamed via YouTube. So just so everyone's aware, these board meetings are being recorded on YouTube and are there for people to watch at their leisure. That's part of the reason why we ask people, if you come up and make a comment, to speak into the microphone. Otherwise, the video doesn't pick it up and they can't hear what you're saying. So it's not that you need to use a microphone for people to hear you in this room, but you definitely need a microphone for people to hear you in YouTube land there. So that is up there, and there's a link actually from our agenda page as well to those videos there. So if you want to go back and watch those or reference those are available there. So that concludes that portion of my report. Excuse me, I forgot to mention one other thing. The city of Phoenix is putting on a Double 10 celebration. It's a Taiwan National Day, October 4th. At the Arizona State University West Valley campus. This is an exciting event that the city of Phoenix is putting together in large part to honor TSMC. They're sponsoring the event as well, but I had an opportunity to meet a representative from TSMC this past week, and she had mentioned that they were doing this event, so we want to make sure our residents were aware of it as well. They're going to have some fun things there, like a night market, some prizes, different things like that going on. And they also indicated that they will be coming to our community to do a little presentation as well. So that'll be exciting down the road. That dates for that aren't finalized yet, but they are forthcoming. On the business services update, let me flip my page here. Excuse me, sorry. There we go. We've had a number of design reviews. We have 8 of them. I just want to mention a couple of them: Sonoran Chapel, Breakmasters, Starting Blocks, Dollar Tree, Marriott Town Place. They asked for an extension. That's the hotel. And then Chipotle. So some new businesses are the Square, Dine Whiskey and Wine, Victory Autism, Anthem School, Golden Cuts Barbershop, and Dollar Tree are open as well. So, and you've probably seen Jack in the Box and Del Taco, they have closed as well. And so that is an update there on business services. Any questions for me?
Yes, thank you. I do have a question. Since I asked for this, I'm always going to have questions, Scott. Anyway, can we see how many people are visiting us?
Yes, we can. If you go to the page, you can
Yeah.
see how many are viewing it live, and then you can see how many views we've had of past meetings as
Yeah.
well.
I did look it up, and it's quite impressive. The screenage and, the coverage is really nice.
Yep. Jeff, sitting behind the TV back there, he is our
Yeah.
cameraman and audio man and everything. So if you don't like the angle, if it's not quite as flattering as you would
Yeah.
like, we can talk to Jeff about getting a different angle.
And then we're all excited about Chipotle. Do you have any more information about
They want to be open by the... I had a feeling that one would get people's ears to perk up. They want to open by the end of the year. So they are going in the old Del Taco building. So they're going to remodel and reopen. So,
Thank you.
all right. If that's the questions, then Ms. Dahl, you're up next.
Okay, thank you. Just a snapshot of our current workforce. We have 164 headcount with one open position in Scott's team. It's the full-time children's program supervisor. Interviews are in progress, so hopefully we'll have an announcement for a new employee at the next meeting. The current mix of employees is made of full-time, part-time, hourly, and I also like to always share a little bit of the tenure, because you'll see we have a lot of knowledge and information for our ACC employees and a lot of really good new folks as well. So I always like to show that. For employee relations and team building, at the September All Hands, the monthly All Hands Award for providing quality service was presented to Angie McFarland. Some of you might know her. She's the customer service lead at the community center. The award is based on peer nominations, so we were really excited for Angie. Congrats to her, and thank you for everything you do at the community center. The Morale Committee continues to do some little pop-up organized events. This month they did an organized soda social last week for all employees to stop by the Civic Center, enjoy a variety of soda flavors along with wonderful Rice Krispie bars made by Deborah Baker. The event was all part of the Morale Committee's commitment to recognize our valuable employees and encourage team interaction. They've done a great job over the summer doing these little pop-up events. For our training and development update, again this fall, directors have selected a couple of employees to attend the AGTS Supervisors Academy. This academy covers key supervisory competencies in 14 modules presented over 3 months. The 2 employees selected to attend are both currently in supervisor positions here at the ACC. So we're excited for them to go ahead to those courses. And then for HR project updates, Dana has done a great job of leading several projects, some of them wrapping up this month. This uniform store project, the integration of the reward software, Bonusly, in the payroll system, so we can seamlessly connect the two. And then teeing up for the rest of this year, we have the benefit selection and enrollment, an updated handbook. Dana is leading the 2026 performance management process timeline, and also that will utilize some of the modules in our HRIS system, the scheduling module, and the budget and compensation modules. We're really excited for utilizing all of these modules now of a system we implemented a year ago. And that's all I have. May I answer any questions? Thank you.
All right, I will take over and try to use my microphone correctly. We got a lot of fall programs going on. Some of the things out at the pool are kind of winding down. Our fall swim lessons wrap up this weekend, as well as the open swim with our guards on duty will end this weekend as well. So those won't continue into October with the unpredictable weather we've been having lately, although it could end up being 100 degrees in October anyways, and they'll be like, why didn't we do that? The swim team's going really well. We had our new coach. He's in month number 2, and the enrollment has no drop-offs whatsoever. One of the positive things is we look into budget is how well swim team's actually doing this year. So he's doing a great job jumping in, full steam ahead. We've already started getting ready for next summer. All of the 2026 lifeguard classes are up and open for enrollment for all of the spring and winter as we go into 2026. So we've been lucky that we have not had any lifeguard shortages like other areas of the state. And one of the reasons is the classes that we offer are really good. And then we have a few small pool reserve projects wrapping up, some little things like, revamping some of the summer furniture that, kind of didn't make it through the season. We have a couple of small pool maintenance projects, and then one involving some of our timing system for the scoreboard out at the pool. So those will be wrapping up. Out in the fields and on the courts, our sports and fitness, we offered our second wellness event. This was a fall wellness event that we've been working with all the local area gyms and anything that has to do with healthy living. We've did one before summer in May, and then we just did our fall one, and I think we had 17 local vendors, and it was actually better attendance. We set it up quite nicely where we had built in some of our programs, so the vendors had good attendance. So that's one of those, like, the more we run it, the better it'll go things, and that's a Paul Rangel thing. I had planned it before he started, and I was like, here you go, have fun. And so now it's his. Pat on the back for me on that one. Our adult sports, if you are getting the emails, we've been doing a lot of polling and finding out what the community is looking for, and we just did a really big kind of push to show everything we're offering. So there'll be a lot of things going on between now and the end of the year. 2 different softball groups, bringing kickball back. We have a small adult soccer group coming. Obviously, pickleball is a big push as we get those courts going. We brought adult swim back with our new coach. So we have been finding a lot of interest in the adult side of activities. So check it out on Civic Rec. Go to the website. We got a lot going on for adults. And then for the youth, we finished up our volleyball season. Soccer's starting, coming in. It was nice to drive by. The fields look great. And now we're filling them up. So we've got our soccer programs out there Monday and Wednesday, and then the other teams that use our fields are on the other nights, and then Saturday games. So those are going really well. And then basketball signups open right now, and that'll start in a couple weeks. So we used to do it like one sport only, and now we're kind of trying to run a couple that slightly overlap, and we've had some success with that. And then we've added some new fitness classes, a new step class that if you come next Tuesday, you may see me out there with my leg warmers on, because I have said if we don't get enough people that I'll make sure to try it out. So that's at 9:30 on Tuesday. No cameras allowed. But we also have some new yoga classes, and we're still looking for some fitness instructors, especially evenings. We've had a lot of interest in people wanting to take classes in the evening. We just can't find instructors. So we want to spread the word for those of you here or watching online. And then our parks, fields, and security, we have the 2026 dog park membership will open October 1st. A project that we're working on through this budget session is finding out the retention numbers on dog parks. So that can be something that Aaron shares with you as we begin getting all of that info, because we do know when we opened the dog park, it was huge and everybody was like, oh, we want to do it, and it's slowly gone down. So we want to really dig in and see how many people are staying in the dog park, because our numbers are always about the same, but we know people are leaving and new people are coming. So we want to kind of find out the who's and the whys on that. So look for that. And then we brought back the rattlesnake class for training the dogs not to go towards rattlesnakes. We're not training the snakes, we're training the dogs. There was some confusion there. There's one spot left, so get in now if you want that last spot. And then it's gonna get busy out in the sports fields, obviously. It's that time of year, it's starting to be nice, so you know, if you have nothing to do at night, go check it out. Mike's team does a great job getting everything ready, and then we fill it up. I did want to give an overflow parking update. It's actually going really well. We've had very little issue, resident or high school, and we hit the 50 spot. We're kind of at our halfway. We hit that today, and we're actually seeing a lot of the just turning 16s coming in now. So stay away from that area in the morning and afternoon. But yeah, it's filling up. We hit number 50 today, so that was exciting. And I'm not quite done. We did mention we are still hiring for the children's and family supervisor position. Allison's done a great job. Her last day will be October 1st. That is also our 3rd annual sidewalk chalk party that's free to the public. We run it around our fall break camp. So we take the campers out there. We encourage families to come. It's a free sign up, or you can just show up. And it's the one day we get permission from Mike and his team that we're actually allowed to do graffiti out there, as long as we can wash it off. So that'll be coming up October 1st. And then we have our regular programs that are going really well. We got a parents' night out and our child and babysitting class, where we will train the kids and give them a little certification for babysitting. And just a ton of adult and teen. We have, if you didn't get that email, make sure you sign up, check the box and say you're allowed. Because even I was surprised. I was like, wow, we're really doing a lot here. I actually called it the Mike Krask programs list. There was so much going on. So make sure you sign up for those emails so you can see all the good things we got going on in this building and at our building. So with that, I will take questions.
Yes, I do have a couple questions. The North Lawn, are we doing more programming on that than, or what kinds of programming are we doing for the North Lawn?
Yeah, we actually, that is where we're running the dog training. We did have feedback from when we ran it at the dog park that the dogs were not wanting to go back to the dog park. They were like, oh, this is where the snake was, and then they wouldn't want to go back. So we're doing that class out at the North Lawn because we don't want the dogs to come back there. We also are working with the club lacrosse team and the Boulder Creek lacrosse. They're doing a couple night practices on that area using a softer ball so they don't break anything. And then they're actually using that free weight area that we put out there for their training, because they're too busy at the school, so they're renting that area and running that. And then we have our Saturday morning TOTS class, uses that area. That's the one where they try all the different sports. So they do some inside the gym, and then they do the outside ones out there. So it is starting to get used. So good question.
Well, one last thing. Do you have any requests for Tai Chi? Because we used to have a Tai Chi class.
We have not. We have our jujitsu instructor, and I think he has offered to teach something similar, but we have not had any requests, at least not through the latest poll we did.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Newell, both for the introduction and all the wonderful programs you guys are running. Gives us something to do. So parks, facilities, and construction. For the facilities, the Limbo Asset Management System is online and is being used as a work order and preventive maintenance system. Database entry is ongoing and will continue for a really long time. A lot of data to put in there. The community center had a damaged light pole. That pole has been ordered. It's so far back ordered, it's going to be in around December, so we'll be putting that in. For the landscaping, they're still doing the boring for the poly to PVC work over at the Meridian. We have multiple saguaro cactus removal and replacements, and this is throughout all of Anthem. There's probably 20 different cacti that need to be either propped up, removed, or replaced. They're everywhere, but our cactus guy is just really busy, and he keeps pushing us back a little bit. They promise it's going to happen in October. We've completed putting up 3 banner stands. So on the west side of Anthem Way, you'll see a couple of these iron stands there, and you'll notice that we now have banners that will be going up for our special events and our Anthem communications. At the corner of Gavilan Peak and Anthem Way in the corner of the park, We have the permanent stands up there, and we'll be doing some landscaping. And we also have new banner stands down at the Daisy Mountain entry. And of course, we're going to be doing a little bit of landscaping down there. So we're going to make it look a little classier, a little bit more permanent than just a couple of poles stuck in the dirt. So it looks very good so far. Daisy Mountain entryway, we've got the plant installation in progress down there. They've proceeded with overseed throughout the ACC. They've already done the main parks, and now they're working out in the satellite parks and some of the common areas that do get overseeded. And they'll be coming back and reseeding in areas where it doesn't take. But so far, it looks gorgeous. You go out there, and it's a beautiful green carpet. They have completed the pre-emergent in the safety zone behind the country club homes. Basically, that's that 5-foot safety zone behind the homes so that the firefighters can travel. We're spraying pre-emergent. Country club's done, and the park side is currently in progress. We have refreshed a planter on the north side of the Liberty Bell Tunnel, and Country Club, where they come underneath Anthem Way over by Liberty Bell. The plants and all that was pretty old and needed some love, so we put some new plants in there, and we've actually repainted that whole tunnel in that area and restored it to its original appearance. If you came in the front door or the flag side of the Civic Building, you will have noticed the front entry has a little bit of a difference. Take a look as you exit, if you go out through that exit. That is courtesy of Travis and our landscaping department. It really pops. So my hat goes off for him. At the main park, up around the clock tower and the train station, at that artificial turf area, we're also doing a conversion because the turf was just not surviving in the shade underneath those trees. So rather than have the mud pit every year, we've gone ahead and converted that and added some new landscaping in there. The flowers for the Civic Building, the annual flower or biannual flower installation, that should be happening next month. We'll refresh the flowers for the AVM and some of the signage, Civic Building, and Community Center. We have a damaged light pole in the North Park, and that one also is going to be coming in around December. In our construction department, we have completed 39 wall repairs so far in-house. We have 2 of them in progress, and then we have 3 more wall repairs in inspection, and that's with our construction department. We had a third-party wall repair in the country club, and that has been completed, all except for paint, and they should be painting that tomorrow and Friday, and that will be done and complete. I'm going to go ahead and speak for capital projects because Kevin's not here tonight, but I'll give you an update for pickleball, the enhancement project. Demolition is completed. Groundwork and dirt compaction is done. Electrical underground lines have been completed. Maricopa County electrical inspection has been completed. The concrete footers for the shade structures and the retaining walls are done. The retaining walls have been completed. All our grout tests, concrete tests have been completed. The light poles have been set. The heads are going on sometime next week. The post-tension whiskers have been installed and tested. The retention area sod has been replaced down around the old south pickleball courts. We're currently working on an RFP to install security cameras for the Pickleball North area, and we're still estimating completion at the end of October. We're on schedule, we're on budget, and we're on task. For the community center locker room project, the plans have already been approved. They've already started construction. We've received our submittals for lighting, plumbing, lockers, and wall tiles. We've actually managed to control the dust in the community center very, very well, much better than I was expecting to. And they've completed the majority of demolition. We encountered some areas with corrosion and mold, but we're addressing that. And then we are also acquiring multiple quotes for the deluge shower, and we estimate completion in early November for the bathroom. For the dog park improvements, we're currently out quoting, shopping quotes for trees, the appropriate trees as selected. We have pending bid requests for some of the improvement, like the benches and the screens. And we are preparing internal department sequencing for the completion of the work. Some of the work is going to be done by the ACC staff, my staff, and then some of it's going to be hired out to third parties depending on our staffing levels and just how busy we are. For the existing pickleball courts, we have a resurfacing reserve project, and we're currently have an RFP out to multiple vendors to find out the price for that. And then with all of this, since we have everything happening in one very compact zone, we are confirming and cross-confirming and trying to push through scheduling so that we can complete everything when it needs to be completed so that we're not running around like the Keystone cops out there. Does anybody have any questions about anything I just mentioned or anything else?
Yes, I do. Thank you. That was a great report, very detailed. So on Monday, they were pouring concrete for the pickleball courts, and it was raining. Obvious, I guess, is that a problem? Would you
Yes.
know?
That was infill concrete. That's not post-tension concrete. That's like infill. It's sidewalk concrete. And rain does not affect concrete as long as it's not too much rain. A little bit of drizzle is perfectly fine. And quite literally, in some areas, when the concrete gets too hot, they actually keep it damp or moist so that it cures more slowly and actually cures harder that way. So it was a good thing, actually.
Good. Well, we'll order more rain then. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, well, with that, I'll turn it over to Jennifer with financials.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Krask. So since our last work session with the board, Aaron and I have been working closely with the directors to close the gap on the 2026 budget, which I am happy to say we have done, as you've seen in your packet. Before I provide a general overview of the August financials, I did want to just take a second and thank Mike and Scott, Steve, Tanya, and Dana for working hard on each of your individual budgets to get us to where we are today. I also want to give a shout out to the rest of our finance team, my team members. There's a tremendous amount of time and effort put into this budget behind the scenes, and each of them have been very helpful and supportive. My time from my daily tasks is taken aside during this, and they've all been super awesome, so thank you to them. And so with that, the first slide is our budget comparison summary. Our year-to-date revenue is currently under budget by $42,000. For overall programs, August reflects a $21,000 better than budget. While there was a decrease in fitness and tennis revenue, there was an increase in youth league, children's programs, and civic building programs. Overall facility rentals throughout the organization show a slight decrease of $12,000. Enhancement revenue for August was our highest so far for 2025 at almost $99,000, which brings our year-to-date amount to $58,000 better than we budgeted. For our expenses under repairs and maintenance, the granite and poly to PVC work that Mike is talking about, which is $270,000 roughly, is now being reflected in our report. We also continue to experience HVAC issues that need repair at the community center. Overall, R&M budget is under budget, $33,000 year to date. For programs, we had some increased revenue. Some of our increased revenue has also associated increased expenses. Program-related wages also include 3 pay periods for the month of August. Professional services are over budget due to various issues requiring general legal and engineer consulting services. General administration expenses were under budget for August, with a year-to-date over budget by $23,000. The total year-to-date expenses are $20,000 better than budget, with a net variance currently sitting at a deficit of $22,000. The next slide is our general overview of the first slide, but also gives you an overview of the reserve and enhancement funds with their associated programs or projects. And then the third slide is our balance sheet, which outlines the 3 separate funds. Operating account balances on August 31st were $4.77 million. Reserve fund account balances were $17 million, which includes our $204,000 monthly contribution. Enhancement fund account balances were $1.68 million. And as of August 31st, the enhancement fund has generated $633,000 so far, compared to $574,000 last year. And with that, that is my report. If there's any questions for me.
Thank you, Jennifer. For special events and communications, the Anthem Veteran Service Award. Nominations are open right now until October 3rd. The winner will be announced at this year's Veterans Day ceremony. Please submit your nomination as soon as possible. Anthem's Market in the Park will return this Sunday, October 5th, from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Join us for a delightful morning in the beautiful park twice a month from 9 to 2. Go Green Fall event is coming up on October 11th from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Enter the lower parking lot of the community park and follow the instructions. The spots will be numbered. Republic Services, ProShred, MCSO, and other community partners offer Anthem residents the opportunity to recycle electronics, personal documents, bulk cardboard, paint, trash, and prescription drugs. The last car must be in line by 10:45 and have your ID ready. This is only for Anthem residents. The Anthem Way Foundation has been awarded a $5,000 grant from the Arizona State Veterans Services. This generous grant plays a pivotal role in supporting the Veterans Day ceremony, helping to fund and enhance the event. The grant not only aids in covering the necessary expenses, but also ensures that the ceremony can support from this funding. The Anthem Way Foundation can continue to deliver a meaningful and memorable celebration for the community, paying tribute to those who have served in the armed forces. Autumn Fest, mark your calendars for the Craft and Carnival on October 18th and 19th. In addition to the fantastic selection of crafts and carnival fun, enjoy live music and great food. And of course, don't miss out on the always popular Rotary Beer Garden, where you can relax and enjoy the festivities in an event you won't want to miss. Also, Brown's Amusement, their carnival is back. Wristband pre-sales are available online for $30. And at the beginning of the carnival, they will be $35 on site. And that is it for special events and communications, and I will turn it over to Chairwoman Curl.
Any final comments, questions? Fantastic. I will entertain a motion to accept our reports.
I move we accept the director's reports and financial report with the thanks of the council for the hard work.
I have a second. Thank you, Barb. All right, we'll move on to item 7.
We need to vote.
Oh, sorry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Fantastic. Item 7, committee updates and action items. Do we have an update from the finance?
We do. We did have a quorum, and we met yesterday, and we went through our questions and had a lot of commentary on the current state of the budget as it was presented. And we would like to, number one, thank Aaron and Jennifer and staff for all of the incredible work they've put into the budget and the revisions and the multiple revisions of the budget. But the bottom line, after extensive discussion, was that the committee voted unanimously to recommend that the board approve the revenue and expense portion of the budget as presented, with the stipulation that the enhancement fund accounting to be discussed later. I know it's a little premature because we're going to be discussing budget in a little bit. That's it.
Thank you. Do we have an update for growth committee? Did they meet? Do we know?
Yeah, we did meet, we did not have a quorum, so it was not an official meeting, but I will just say that we had an extensive conversation through one of the committee members regarding TSMC and their impact on the community. And Aaron graciously followed up on one of the action items which he discussed earlier in helping us make an inroad with potential further positive relationships with TSMC.
All right, I will entertain a motion to accept our committee reports.
I move we accept the committee reports.
Do we have a second? Awesome. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Great. All right, we move right along to item 8, old business. And we are starting with resolution 2025-R-11.
Madam Vice Chair, if I may, Director McKenzie said that he would be happy to let me explain this item. So I appreciate his generosity in doing this. He and Director Duckworth are the petitioners for this item. Last month we talked about this. This is a little bit of the background or history. I won't bore you with it because it is in the packet of information there. We have had committees similar to this in the past. It's kind of the upshot of this there. So the proposed committee scope this time around is to facilitate communication between local businesses and the ACC board so that the board is aware of policy issues that are impacting commerce and Anthem, advocate for business-friendly policies at city and county meetings that benefit both businesses and residents, and provide information resources to help businesses understand community needs and preferences. So it's really just trying to say, hey, the decisions we're making here at this meeting, how are they helping or hurting our local businesses? That's really what it is. I think in an exercise like this, it's also important to say what it is not, because people can say, oh, well, it's going to be everything or nothing. And it's like, okay, well, let's define some parameters. So one thing is this committee doesn't have any regulatory authority. They can't impose any requirements upon anyone or any business. There are no financial commitments from the ACC towards this committee. They serve in an advisory role. They're not a decision-making board. That's you. You retain that authority there. No endorsements. They're not going to say, hey, ABC Widgets is the best and everyone should go there for their widgets. It's more like Anthem businesses are the best and you should go there to spend your money. And that is a true statement. Also, it's important here, this point of supporting, not supplanting existing organizations. So we have a Chamber of Commerce here. We have Preferred Businesses of Anthem. These are local business organizations that exist, and we certainly don't want to try to replicate their role and what they're doing. That would be inappropriate and duplicitous. It's like, that doesn't make any sense for us to do that, but we certainly want to partner with them and work with them so that we understand what their goals are and how, as an organization, we can support that. Finally, no financial incentives involved. We don't have any revenue that we can leverage there. So in the traditional economic development game, a business comes in and says, hey, if I build this business here, it'll bump up your revenues and give me back a portion of that as I build and develop in your community, be it property tax, sales tax, business licensing fees, those kinds of things. And that traditionally works for cities and counties and states. Here at the Anthem Community Council, we don't have any of those revenue streams. We collect assessments, and those assessments are the exact same whether a parcel is developed or undeveloped. So it doesn't matter if you build a 10-story building or you leave it as dirt, the same amount is assessed against that lot each and every quarter. So I think that's important for people to keep in frame of mind, as well as we're not trying to get in the economic development game, especially from a financial incentive part. Those are the local governments and county governments who can do that. Recommendations, these are from Director Duckworth and Director McKenzie. They said 9-member committee, 3 board members on the committee, representatives from the business community here, and then interested residents and public members, and then we'd have a staff member serve as ex officio / liaison support for the committee there. And then they would have an initial charter period of 2 years. Let's see how this goes for 2 years. And if things are going well, that can be extended. If things aren't going well, then we don't have to extend it. And then they would meet bi-monthly, and then there would be reports just like the growth committee or the finance committee reports. There would be reports at this board meeting as well. So with that, happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Yes, I have a question. Have we started getting applications for?
I'm gonna say we have not. So, and I'll take the blame for that. That's my fault.
Do we have a timeline for doing that?
By Friday, yes.
Oh, good.
Yes, the answer is yes. We'll get that done. That's my fault.
Any other questions? So we can move to,
We need a vote on the resolution if you'd like to pass it.
all right.
And obviously discussion.
I move we approve resolution 11.
All in favor?
You do a discussion.
Is there any discussion? Anyone opposed? Fantastic. Fantastic. Resolution passes. Congrats on your new.
Oh, could I make a report? I'm happy to say that the slots for membership by board directors is full. Done. Mr. Duckworth. Laura is on it, and I am on it.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Laura. All right, we will go ahead and move on to item 9, our new business. Item A, Resolution 2025-R15, Community Center HVAC.
All right, I'm going to take this one. I want to tip my hat to Mr. Krask on this one. This has been a hot topic, and he has done his level best to address this as expeditiously as he possibly can. So just in the way of a background, the community center has 30 HVAC units there. And if this is approved tonight, we will have replaced 22 of them since December of 2021. So there's a great number of them that just need to be replaced. It's just kind of end of life for these units there. So I appreciate his crew keeping an eye on that and working on that. And I will say this, pat on the back for Mike here as well. The Limble system will help us track these and see these even better because we'll be able to tie the work orders and the work being completed on a specific unit. And so we'll be able to say, hey, this is peaking, this is more's happening here than it should be, and be able to know, hey, this should be replaced sooner rather than later. So give you that background, in 2021, 8 of them, 4 of them in 2024. This summer, we had 2 that were just completely gone. They were out. And so Mike jumped on that. We had a local vendor, and they came in and did those 2 and got those back up and running. And so then this, with this RFP, that's 8 additional there for your consideration tonight. Here's a quick map of them, locations of the units on the building. I will say this as well. As we went through this RFP process, we put it out, we had 15 businesses or vendors tour the building. And then of that, 9 submitted proposals. And then of that, the team reviewed that and came up with a recommendation. In the resolution, you'll see it's Comfort Systems USA. We feel like they offer the best value and were the most responsive to our requirements. I will say they are not the cheapest, but they're also not the most expensive, but we felt like they were the most responsive with the least amount of change orders and babysitting that we're gonna need to do with them. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. And if I can't, Mr. Krask will, I'm sure.
I have a question. Is there any experience that we've had that you know of, Mr. Krask, that would differentiate life expectancy between train and carrier?
I don't have any concrete experience in the comparison of the two, other than what I can research. The train seems to be more widely used, so it's probably a little bit more common area, but then carrier also has some special features that also add to its longevity. So 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Yeah, the selection was based on many, many values. Manufacturer, of course, was one of them.
Good, thank you.
I have a question about, we got, what, 15 RFPs back? Was that right? Why do
9.
you think, so I have two questions. Why do you think we got so many responses back when some of our other projects, we don't get anything? Maybe that's due to all your hard work, I'm sure. But if you could address that. And also, have we worked with the company that you are suggesting that we go with? Have we worked with them before?
Okay, let me answer your questions in a row. Actually, it takes a village. So on this particular issue with the RFP, we put it out, Steve posted it on his websites, Kevin put it out on several of our bidding websites, and then we plastered the airwaves with it with social media. So we all pitched in and got it far out there, and it actually had a very short close period. And it is Arizona, so I'm sure no matter where you go, you can trip over an air conditioning company. So there's a lot, it's different than a pickleball company. Nothing against pickleball, but not everybody has a court. So that could be the difference. I'm just guessing. And for this particular vendor, no, we did not. We have not worked, to my knowledge, with this vendor before. However, part of the process with having all these vendors come on site was actually their site inspection. The RFP states that it was a turnkey project, and the contractor is responsible for completing the job in full, and it's their responsibility for examining the site. While they're here examining the site, we're examining them. I had guys that showed up without ladders. I had guys that didn't bother to get up in the ceiling to look at the units that were up there. I had guys, or I say guys, but I meant people. We had individuals who didn't do an appropriate site visit, so they lose mental points in my thing. And I actually have a matrix, and I tracked all this stuff, and the ones that wouldn't answer the questions that the RFP called out, it made them lose points. For the ones that came up with silly responses, they lose a few points. This is based on professionalism, detail, questions that the contractor asked, and their response in hitting the targets and answering the questions that we asked for in an appropriate professional manner.
Great, that's really good. That's good experience that we're gaining on getting bids. Even though it may be laborious, it's important. I forgot there was another question I had.
I have a question, so if you want to think about yours. So I have a few I'm going to lay at you here, okay? Will this work, will these new systems work with any of the automated equipment? I know you guys installed something on the pools. Are we doing anything like that for HVAC, or what does that look like?
Mr. Baker and I had discussed this concept. The agreement that we came to was, let's get the air conditioning units replaced and have them up and running. And then at a later time, we can add remote monitored thermostats to them, depending on which AC unit it is. This building is monitored remotely. I can see every AC unit on my phone. Same with the community center, but not right now. Let's get them up, get them working, make sure all our systems are good, and then to remotely monitor each of those HVAC systems costs about $500 to $600 to switch the thermostat over and do all the programming and get it all set up.
So in this bid, I see there is a part of it is the thermostat. So I'm just curious if
the question was asked.
Okay.
Of some of my follow-up questions I had with them, if they had potential for their systems being selected, I did ask, can we hook a remote thermostat up to that or something along those lines? So,
and I didn't dissect it. What kind of warranty are we getting with these things? Are they? I know I see they're trained. Are we getting any kind of like 5-year, 10-year? I didn't see anything spelled out in here. What they're giving us.
warranty is somewhat complicated, but for parts, I believe it is 10 years and 5 years on compressors. I would have to look at the individual proposal because there were 15 of them, and by the time I got finished sorting through all that, I was very scrambled.
Is that something that's tracked in the new tracking software for?
Definitely, that's what the software is for.
Okay. Couple more, so hang with me. I appreciate the on-site analysis of the businesses. I think that's huge. Are we doing the obvious, like the ROC check and maybe checking other businesses to see who they've used on this size of a job?
Thanks for asking. Yes, of course.
And then last one, can you give us an idea of maybe you're the lowest bid and the highest bid?
It was in there. Let me read it off to you. The lowest was $98,000, and he had so many exclusions, it wasn't even a turnkey proposal. It was kind of an estimate. And then the highest,
245.
thank you, $245,000.
Appreciate your hard work. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yes, I do remember. I think I asked this last time. I just wanted to make sure. Is this coming out of reserve funds? Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
If I could just respond to the warranty question, I found it. The equipment warranty, 1 year complete unit parts only, 5-year compressor parts, 10-year heat exchanger. And then on the split systems, it's 1 year complete unit and then 5-year compressor on that. And a ductless split system's a 7-year complete warranty. And then they give a workmanship warranty of 1 year.
If nothing further, I will entertain a motion.
I move we approve Resolution 15 with the board's thanks to Mr. Krask for all his hard work.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. All right. As we move on to item B, 2026 budget discussion.
All right, this is the exciting part of the meeting. So for those of you who are still here, I appreciate you being here because this is the good stuff. At least it's what my heart beats fast about, and I think Jen gets even more excited than I do about it. So I'm not going to regurgitate everything that was covered during the workshop. There's a lot of information in the packet, but there are some high points I want to hit and some additional things I wanted to discuss there. So first, capital expenditure, we have pulled that out because the board has expressed a desire for us to look for donations or sponsorships for that. So we pulled that out of the budget officially. If we find a sponsorship, as we address that policy there, we can add it back in because there'll be the associated revenue there. So it'll be a wash. So I wanted to update you on that. Okay, I wanted to talk about next the use of enhancement funds because several questions came up about this. Right now, in the budget, it's proposed that we transfer $510,840 out of enhancement into operating to help offset costs for that. That leaves $377,160 left in enhancement from the $888 that we're projecting to bring in revenue. For some folks, they're a little uncomfortable with that number and that amount. They're saying, hey, that's greater than 50%. We feel like if we keep going down this road, that we'll never have any more enhancement projects. We will only have operating expenses for previous enhancement funded projects there. So there are a couple of different options as we talked through this and looked at it. One would be basically kind of questions about this methodology. Is this a sound methodology or not? So option one is that we could continue to do this, and each year the board would look at it and say, okay, do we agree with the assumptions being made about the costs being assigned to that? So this year it's 495. We said next year it'd be 510 based on the proposed assessment rate increase of 3.2%. There it shows some revenue, but the revenue is not offsetting the expenses coming out either. We just include that as for an informational piece. Future FMP projects we're not including in that 510 this year, but that just kind of gives you a sense of what those could be there as well, which would add another potential 125,000. So that's kind of flavor one is we keep doing the current methodology, looking at it on a year-to-year basis, knowing that that number is going to creep up. So that's option one. Option two is to do a step down plan. There are folks, especially on the finance committee, who have voiced discussed with transferring money from enhancement to operating. They say, all we're doing is we're hiding the ball. Operating should be paying for these things anyways, and enhancement should be purely for enhancement projects in totality. So we could put ourselves on a diet and slowly step down. That could be a 5-year or a 10-year. In the memo, I just showed a 5-year process of approximately $100,000 per year for the next 5 years. If you translate that into what that really means on the monthly assessment, that would be about 75 cents more a month every year. So in 2026, we'd add 75 cents on, and then the next year we'd add 75 cents more, and so on and so forth there. So that is an option if there's a desire to kind of wean us off that money and have it be purely operating to pay for those operating costs. Option 3 is kind of a compromise solution that says it would basically be if we budgeted, I'm going to use some round numbers right now so it makes sense. It's easy. If we budgeted $888,000, we would transfer $444,000 into the operating fund, 50%. And so if everything goes according to plan, great, we're doing well. If, for example, we did that, but let's say the revenue didn't quite come in the way we had anticipated or hoped. Let's say we only collect $800,000. So then we would only transfer 50% in of what was actually collected. So that would put us at $400,000 being transferred in, and that would create, in theory, if we had budgeted $444,000, it would create a $44,000 bust that we would have to try to make up as the year goes on, saying, what are we going to do to make up that $44,000 difference in revenue coming in? So that would be option, that would be something to keep in mind, I guess, as one of the consequences of that, going that route. On the flip side, let's say sales are fantastic and we have $1 million in enhancement revenue that comes in and we only budgeted $888,000. Then what we would do is we would cap the amount of transfer that goes over at $444,000, and then the remaining amount would all remain in enhancement. So anything above that amount. So it would work out to $556,000 remaining in the enhancement fund. So it'd be a nice boon to the enhancement fund there. So those are the options with kind of some pros and cons associated with each one. But that's kind of those are the 3 options that we're talking about here for folks to walk through if there's interest in adjusting the current methodology. Do you want to stop at this point and have a discussion, or do you want me to cover the next point as well?
Well, yeah, I do have comments. Yeah. What's the next point of discussion? Do you want me to wait?
The possible resale assessment is what I was going to talk about next.
Okay, I'll wait.
Okay. I just didn't want to blow past things if people were wanting to talk now. After our last meeting, one of our employees approached me and informed me that that other communities in the region are collecting what's called a resale assessment. Well, that's the term we're using. Not everyone uses the exact terminology, but that's the terminology that we're using, which is basically on average in the region, it's a $300 assessment that's collected on each sale, and it goes towards administrative and operating costs there. So it's not a community enhancement fee. Okay, thank you. Thank you for advancing the slide. It's not a community enhancement fee. That goes into the enhancement fund. This would go directly into operating. So this gives you a sense of what's going on in the neighborhood. You can see us at the top, the $400 disclosure fee. We don't have the resale assessment. We have the community enhancement fee and the rush fee and the update fee. And you can see how others are doing that there. So that, as we looked at that, we said, okay, if there is a reduction in the transfer from enhancement, this would be one way of offsetting that. Additionally, this is a way of just offsetting assessment increases. So as we've talked about this and looked at this, our goal obviously is to try to keep the monthly assessment as low as possible. And so instead of building this money into the monthly assessment that residents pay, this is a one-time assessment charged at the time of resale. So it doesn't impact quite as much as a monthly assessment would. At least it's felt differently within a household, let me put it that way. So that's a little bit on the resale assessment. We would need some direction if the board would like us to pursue this idea further. Given what others are doing in the area, that would require some legal work and some amendment to some of our documents. The legal is prepared to proceed with. We can consider that next month if you want. But this month is really just kind of discussion on this point. And so I will stop right there if there are questions or comments.
Yes, thank you very much. And thanks for coming up with 3 options. When you're mentioning the second option, I'm tempted to be excited about that, however. But as I have been in support of keeping the enhancement fund for enhancements and not for operating costs, I would be happy to entertain the third option, which is limiting the amount, because it could just go forever and ever, and we'd never have any enhancement money, as you have indicated. I would like, though, the spreadsheet that you did put up with last year, the numbers that were 495. I would like to take some serious look at that and update that. And I also would, if we are getting revenue, that's 50,000. If we're getting revenue from these projects, then I think that we should be looking at the net number and not just the expense number. So when you're reevaluating to get, you may get to only 444. Does that make sense, what I'm saying?
It does. I will say if you go with option 3, it decouples this worksheet from how much is contributed. We could do this as an academic exercise. We certainly could do that. But it's 50% of whatever is going into enhancement. So whatever you're budgeting
Right.
there.
And so who's planning for what the budget number is? Because I know we've been low on that number. So are we all of a sudden going to have a high budget number?
That would not be in our best interest as an organization, because let's say we were to say, oh, next year we're going to get $1 million, but we fall short and we get 900,000. That means there's a $50,000 revenue coming into operating that's not going to be happening from enhancement. So it'd be shooting ourselves in the foot. Our goal is to provide the most accurate number we possibly can.
Okay.
In that case, not to over or undershoot it.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
If you would like, I will say this, each year we can continue to do this so that you have a benchmark in your mind. We certainly can continue to do that, but I want to make sure it's clear that there won't be a linkage in the relationship between this worksheet and the amount that would be being transferred.
Okay, I got that.
Okay.
So just to continue that discussion, because it wasn't clear to me until just now, that option 3 has nothing to do with the actual expense, the ongoing operating expense of an enhancement project. Okay. And so what you will do in terms of budgeting is you will make an estimate of the 50% of the enhancement fund anticipated amount, plug that into your budget. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a cap.
Well, unless it's over and we get over or under.
I will say this, the board has the authority to change this year to year. So let's say we try this for a couple of years and you're like, I don't like this. Here are the pitfalls that we did not perceive. These are the challenges. A future board can change it. I mean, past boards have been in favor of the current methodology. And you're a new board and you're saying, this isn't my favorite approach, or at least I'm hearing some of that. This isn't my favorite approach. I want to try a different approach. So realize that Moses isn't delivering this on tablets of stone. There's the ability to amend this year to year. So I do think it is in our best interest to continue to generate this worksheet for you as a point of reference so that you have a sense of where are we in space. But like I said, I just wanted to make sure you were clear that it's not what this worksheet says is what dictates that amount.
If I may, And I apologize for not completely understanding your options until just now. Given that, what I'd like us to think about, option one is the way we're doing it right now. My concern with option one is just to make sure that what you've got, and I'm looking at the spreadsheet up on the wall right now, is to make sure that what you're projecting in the next budget period is actual part of your revenue expense budget within each either event or each enhancement category. I just want to make sure that this is accurate.
So I will say the 495, let me step that back one. There is a little bit of who's measuring. So like, for example, Director Patterson says, oh, revenue should count and it should offset expenses. So, you know, that there is a methodology question, and we can iron that out if you want as well, and kind of work through and say, okay, this is the general consensus. This is how we want to measure it. Do we want to count income or not? Do we want to add the new FMP projects that we're adding or not? You know, there's some of that can go on within that, but we certainly can do our best to account for those.
Well, I'll just throw out my opinion since I have the green light, and that is option one, despite how confusing it is in looking at the overall budgeting process and the transfer, to me, now that I understand it thoroughly, makes complete sense. Because if you have an enhancement project, you have to be able to track the ongoing operating costs tied to that project. And I like the fact that this detailed spreadsheet that you have keeps track of that. And the only thing I would suggest is maybe someone putting a little more energy into that spreadsheet so that it can be as accurate as possible, as I've already said.
Okay.
So my opinion would be to stay with option one, which is what we're doing right now, and then on a separate discussion, consider the added assessment fee.
Okay.
And so I will counter that with this spreadsheet was done for last year, not renewed for this year.
Correct. The 495 was developed last year, and just the 510 is just the 3.2% applied to the 495.
So, and also future FMP projects, if we look at that, we're not getting the dog park restrooms, we're not getting probably the indoor courts. I think our future projects will probably be looked at very carefully with operating costs. I guess and not to be disparagingly speak about how these numbers were created, but for me, I would want to have a lot of detail behind that.
Sure.
And I'm still going with option 3 because that does limit us. They could come up with 550,000, and then we have to go back into the weeds to look to see what that was created. And I don't think any one of us really wants to do that. So I'm really thinking that option 3 is a good compromise. It limits how much. For several years, I think for 3 or 4 years, we had 400,000 in there, and we were happy with that. And we went happily and spent the other money on new projects. Now it's if we accept the option 1, we are going to limit that enhancement money to potentially 350 or 370, whatever the number was. And I think we're going to call this fund an operating expense rather than an enhancement fund. I don't know how else to.
Understood. Yeah. No. This is why I'm bringing this up, because there are multiple perspectives on this, and so that's why we're trying to have this discussion now, so that we don't get to the October meeting and everyone says, well, what about this or what about that? We'd like to try to avoid that and get those questions out there right now.
I wanted to ask the question to Dave. What did your committee, what was their choice? And you sat in those, so why would they choose that?
They didn't choose that. There was really no consensus. there are several who are very upset with the fact that in the past, in their words, we didn't consider the ongoing costs when we created a new project. So they like the fact that we're creating an ongoing, at least, accounting of those costs. But I don't know, Aaron, you were in the meeting.
I definitely heard some who liked option 2, who wanted to wean us off. I heard some who like you said, like the accurate accounting of, okay, this is what's going on, this is what it's costing us. I heard some discussion around option 3 as well. There were some caveats in there, which are, yeah, but. And I will say, this is for discussion tonight. We don't have to have a vote. And so if there is there are two, like a budget A and a budget B you want us to prepare, we can do that as well. So if you say, hey, we want to look at this, we want to look at that. We do need some direction though, so that I have a general sense of, okay, don't bring this up again, or let's keep talking about it.
So I have a question. So if we were to implement that, the resale assessment, how does that impact the 3 options?
It doesn't. So for example, you could say, oh, we want to do the resale assessment, and we could just go ahead and do that. That's not necessarily tied to the transfer from the enhancement fund. They're not related. They're similar, if that makes sense, and you could use one to help offset the other. But there's no requirement to do both of them.
I've been here for all of the discussions about how much of the enhancement fund revenue to use for operating expenses. I was very much in favor of the 400,000 for the couple years that we did that. I was in favor last year of the increase to 491 because we hadn't kept pace with increases. I'm persuaded right now that option 3 is a better way to go because it represents a cap on the use of the enhancement funds. The way I understand it, if we budget $880,000 for advancement revenue and decide that we're going to cap the expenditure to the general fund at 50%, that's fine. If we get 890,000, it stays the same, the transfer for expenses. Otherwise, we're going to be in a trap because expenses are always going to go up, and the enhancement fee is going to go up and down with the market. So if we don't cap it somehow, we're going to be out, as Director Patterson pointed out. We're going to be out of money, basically.
I could be persuaded to that point as long as we have a detailed accounting of the actual costs for every project, and that gets reported as accurately as possible on an ongoing basis, so we don't miss that part. That's the part that I was confused about. I didn't want to decouple the actual accounting of each project with this cap on the enhancement fund.
My recollection is when we decided on the 400,000, that was basically a back of the envelope guess at what the operating costs were for recently added projects. And we've stuck with it since.
I wasn't here for when that was calculated, so I do know that Mr. Conley put it together when he was finance director here, and knowing him, he was thorough about it, did his homework. I've seen the notes in the years following. I saw the work Mr. Samuelson did last year, so I don't feel like, I don't want to give an impression this is a bloated number that's terrible, because I don't feel that way at all. Whether or not it's 100% accurate, I'm not going to say that either, because these are rough order of magnitude numbers here. But I'm happy to, as part of the annual budget, present this worksheet so that you have a benchmark, kind of a guidepost. So as you're looking at that and saying, okay, we want to continue to do this because these numbers feel approximately the same. We can continue to do that. We don't need to abandon this at all. I just wanted, like I said, to make sure you understood that relationship.
Just one last comment, and I think it puts us in the position of choosing new enhancement projects and what effect they have on our operating. We always did. I mean, the big one is OWP. I mean, that's huge. It's huge and it's already there, so it's not going away. And the cost for that is always going to go up because of probably water costs. But I think we can choose to have enhancement projects that save us money. For instance, solar, something like that would actually save us money. And so when whoever's doing that committee, and however we're voting on it, one of the big pieces of that would be what are their operating costs.
Agreed. In fact, I was going to talk about that under future agenda items. So nice segue to that. If I can ask, is there a general consensus for us to prepare a budget that includes these two items? Or do you want us to prepare a budget A that is just as is? And then because if I look through these options, I'm hearing either maybe option 1, option A, we keep doing what we're doing, or option 3. I'm not hearing a lot of option 2. I'm not hearing that.
I would recommend that the board consider option 3 with a $300 assessment, however we define that charge. We consider that in the next budget.
With more detail, a lot more detail.
A lot more detail on what?
This is very general.
So I'm going to say we're going to be pushed to get you a better number by the next meeting, just because this is a lot of work to build this, and we're not currently built this way, if that makes sense.
So because the things that I'm seeing up here in the top for existing, I feel like we've had those for a while, and we should know what it costs to run those things.
Well,
This shouldn't be a general. We should know these numbers pretty hard.
well, there are components of this that we can know well, like payroll, that's pretty easy, but there's some other pieces of that, like our DLC contract does not break it down by OWP versus dog park. It is a lump sum number that they give us. They don't give us by park. So there's some of those costs that we have that we can't get to you as part of that, but we'll certainly try to go back and spruce that up as much as we can. But I just want you to be aware of some of the limitations that we have there.
So I support what Director Duckworth has mentioned, that we go ahead with drafting to vote next time and have another discussion on the $300 assessment fee, and that we go to option 3 and that you build a budget including that in, plus the assessment fee, and come back with that next time.
Okay, we can do that. And then I will ask this, at $300, that will create some more than the transfer amount is. Would you like me to apply any savings to the assessment? So right now, I'm about to jump into that here in a minute. The assessment, when we started out, was $312. During the workshop, was $3.12 a month increase. Right now, we're at $2.66. So if there's any savings by doing that, any increased revenue, would you like me to apply that to bringing the assessment down to $2.60 or whatever it is? Okay, I just didn't want to assume anything there. I just wanted to make sure I understood at that 300 and the option 3 that we're applying that to the assessment rate. Okay, I can do that with Jen's help. Supervising Jen doing that, let's be honest. I think we've covered the resale. No, it's discussion, but I think I've got a general sense of direction from the board on what you need there. So if you're good with that, then I would like to segue into the budget itself. Any other questions on the resale assessment or the transfer from enhancement to operating? Oh, Jen's waving her hand.
Erin, I just want to make sure I'm hearing it right. So in the example, we're proposing $200 resale assessment fee, but the recommendation is to do a budget with a $300.
That's what I heard. Is that correct?
Okay.
That's
just wanna
correct.
Make sure I got that.
Okay. Thank you for that clarifying point. Okay. Then here is a summary of our proposed budget right now. The assessment, I think this is probably the part that everyone cares about. The assessment went down from a proposed 3.75% increase down to a 3.2. So that was $3.12 down to $2.66. That decrease during our workshop, we talked about some areas that need some more attention and tending to tighten up, and that's exactly what we went back and did. The directors responded to the call. I want to give my compliments to them for really looking through, digging through, tightening up numbers, making sure things are accurate. Between Jen, Steve, Scott, Mike, and Tanya, they did a great job there. So my compliments to them. This is kind of a macro level overview. And then if you want to dive down into any details, we can. It just depends on what you'd like to do. So here's the 25 versus the 26 numbers here. Revenues are up. Expenses are up as well. Depreciation obviously there. At the end, the current year budget has a surplus of $979, which drives Jen bananas. Why isn't it at zero? And that's just the way it worked out last year when we approved the budget. This year it's just proposing a zero. Right now, as currently in the current budget, it's $495. As proposed, it's $510. That will be changing. So that will be changing to $444,000, just so you're aware of that. The reserve contribution, it's there. That's the proposed amount in the study. The CIP compared year over year, last year was a 3%, now it's a 2.7. So the assessment, like I said, it's 266 at a 3.2%, and I have a feeling that will go down there. So that's a high-level overview. If you would like I said, I have more slides prepared. I can walk through each department. I'll cover whatever you want if you just want to ask questions, but I want to be respectful of your time, realizing that you probably read the information already. Okay. And so then I will say we have reserve. We haven't changed anything on reserve or enhancement or AWF on those proposed budgets from the workshop. So those remain the same as we talked about them. So I can just I'll skip through those. There's the reserve. Like I said, nothing's changed there. We talked about that. And then enhancement, we just talked about that. We will be talking about at the October and November meetings, Liberty Bell splash pad in the park area right there. We're going to start that ball rolling. And when I say talk about it, it's more soliciting input than anything else. In talking with some of the board members, I think we have a good idea of a process that we would like to walk through. But I think it's really important for us as a staff before we get going to understand what the community's desires are and what your desires are for us to do there. So we will be bringing an agenda item, and we'll be putting a sign out there as well, soliciting public input. So we'll keep you informed of that before we do any of that, but I do want you to know that that's coming up. And then we'll also be discussing probably November as a future agenda item, the future FMP process and how we want to run that. Again, expectations on that process. I'm a proponent of decreases operating costs or provides not revenue, significant revenue. Some people say, oh, it's $1, that's revenue. It's like, it's not significant. So, and we would like to bring in a third party. One of the things I noticed during the last FMP process was we asked members of the community to come up with some of these estimates for construction and for operating, and it was very, very difficult for them to do that. And so in one of the previous FMP processes, in digging through the paperwork, they brought in an outside group that really helped kind of provide at least a concept design and say, okay, this is how much it would cost you truly to build this, and these would be your operating costs. So I thought that that would be a healthy activity to have a third party do that, rather than us trying to do it as staff, or asking the resident to do it themselves as well. So that's some enhancement those are some enhancement updates that you'll be seeing coming your way. Anthem Way Foundation, like I said, has not changed there. We got the grant for next year. There's its P&L right there with its budget. And so with that, I'm happy to answer any more questions that you may have. I don't think there are any, but we will, just to repeat, we're going to come back next month with the $300 and the option 3 in the proposed budget package. So, okay, I'll stop talking.
Quit while you're ahead.
Just a quick question. How do we advertise the pavers for Anthem Way? And should we consider doing some more advertising?
The short answer is yes, we do. During all of our events, as part of our booth, we put out our paperwork there. We have it on our website where people can pay online through PayPal. We have talked about doing some more efforts there to package them as like Christmas gifts or birthday gifts or anniversary, something. It's kind of one of those you always struggle with to know to buy someone who has everything. So something like that. We're talking about a marketing approach of that as well. So, but that revenue does go into the AWF, doesn't go into operating. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, no, we covered the enhancement related future agenda items that I was going to ask.
I move we adjourn. I